How you doing, guys? Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. If you've seen one of Canadian Prepper's most recent videos, which I'm sure all of you have, he mentioned that he thinks there's only two possible outcomes for all the craziness is happening in the world, specifically with China, Russia, Ukraine, World War III, and that both of those outcomes involve a nuke going off at some point, whether that's just one lone even test that kind of chills the action, and on the other end of the spectrum we have a full-blown nuclear exchange of some kind, all-out nuclear war, what wider use of them actually as weapons, whatever.
So I think that this only ends one of two ways. It's going to end in a big nuclear war or a isolated nuclear incident that causes the world to stop and recalibrate and hopefully come back to the negotiating table in a tabula rasa sort of way.
But in his opinion, one of those two things is going to happen. And I gotta say, he's been right about a lot so far. I personally made a prediction video about 6 months ago that I said that I did not think there would be a use of nukes within the next 2 years. But that doesn't mean I don't think it's possible. It's certainly, that just means I think it's less than 50%. And that's one of the things that you do not want to be wrong about. So of course, you guys know me, you know I've taken preparations for any sort of nuclear exchange, and I think you should too. And the good thing is, what we've learned from like the Nuclear War Survival Manual, which you can get that in the link in the description, is that despite what a lot of us grew up, and especially what a lot of our parents grew up thinking, is that nuclear war is, of course, survivable. Obviously, you could be in the direct blast radius and be vaporized, but assuming you're not actually wiped out by the initial explosion, it's definitely survivable if you do a few key things. One of them is potassium iodide tablets, like I'd mentioned. Those can also be in the description. A sheltering plan for the first at least 72 hours, and a huge one is some kind of respirator or filtration for your breathing. Breathing in or ingesting any of the particles is the biggest way to mess up surviving, even if you're not blown up in the initial explosion. And one of the best things you can get to do that is the Mira Tactical Respirator. This thing is great because it takes a lot of the features that are negatives from a massive CBRN gas mask, and it gives you something that is still totally suitable for using in an NBC situation, specifically just a nuclear. So I will say its limitations are that it's not a full-face gas mask, CBRN gas mask. It's not made out of the butyl rubber, but those things matter with like nerve agents, larger biological contamination, things like that. If you're talking specifically for nuclear preparation, which is what a lot of us are worried about right now, given what's going on in the state of the world, this thing is fantastic because, first of all, it's a little bit cheaper. For around $200, I think is the current price, you get the kit complete with 2 filters, whereas the CBRN masks, which are great, I have one, and if you have the money, that's a great option too. But they're around $275, $260 to $300, somewhere in that range, depending on sales, without any of the filters. And this thing is a lot smaller, a lot lighter, so if you need more than one of them, you want to pack them in a kit or whatever, it takes up a lot less space. And importantly, this is designed to be more of a tactical model to be used with weapons. So if you see in the kit here, comes in a nice little cool carrying case. You get the instruction manual here. See, we have 2 filters, and there's different kinds. These two, the ones that you want are the NBC 17 filters like this, but it does use any of the 40 millimeter, so NATO filters. So as you can see here, here's the face mask piece. And the good thing about it is, like I said, despite being a lighter weight respirator more than a gas mask per se, is that it still uses the NATO filter. So any of the filters that you already have from Mira or somewhere else will work with this. The different kinds of filters. It leaves your eyes open, which is good for 2 reasons. It allows you to use any of your own personal goggles. It's designed to be used with a lot of different helmets and goggle systems. Or if you're not in a situation that eye contamination is necessarily a problem, like if you're just, you know, there's nuclear fallout and you just don't want to breathe it while you're in your shelter or whatever, that might help with people who are claustrophobic. If you have to wear corrective lenses, that's a big deal because some of the gas mask kits, to get those, prescription inserts is very expensive. And if you're not anticipating having to deal with, tear gas or something like that, it's just for NBC protection, having your eyes open is not a big deal, might actually be a benefit. And you can certainly use goggles with this. That's one of the advantages. The port is in front. centered so your filter can go on for maximum weight balance. There also is an option that you can get to have it on either side. Currently the way it comes standard is that these are both exhale valves and you get one in the center for weight balance. But if for shooting reasons you find that it's better to have it on the completely on the other side, then you can get that option as well, which is pretty great. And they have a couple different adapters for different types of helmet systems and things like that. And you get your nifty little MOLLE carrying case. So if you can see, compare the size of this bag to the size of a standard gas mask bag, and you can see why that might be an advantage, especially if you want it, that combined with the price point, combined with the lightweight and everything. If you're strictly talking about nuclear fallout, then I think this is a great option. And it's going to save you some money, some weight, some space. This thing only weighs about 4 ounces. You see we got 40mm filter. It's threaded for the same NATO gas mask filters. And the cool thing is that you can see this one's a little big, but you can buy the ones that are much smaller, much less likely to get in the way. But that's, you know, if you're not going to exactly planning on doing tactical stuff, and even if you are, still this is much less in the way of any sort of shooting. So you want to put it on. Great seal right off the bat, and then you just tighten this up. Nice. This is very comfortable and super lightweight compared to the other ones. Easy to find the straps. Put them down. I'm not sure how well you can hear me. My voice is obviously muffled, but it comes through clear enough, obviously. And you can get optional microphone attachments as well, if you wanted to be super tactical. And as you can see, I feel I'm not a claustrophobic person, but I will admit that sometimes that mask, you know, with the lens right up against your face, breathing a little bit restricted, obviously, from any sort of gas mask, if you have an issue with that in a stressful situation, that could be a major problem. Or for children or anything else, so this would be a lot better for that scenario. And for tactical stuff, obviously, this is not nearly in the way, and you can tell already that if this was on the side, it would be a lot better, but I don't have any issue with seeing through this red dot with it on the side. You might have to get used to kind of a new cheek weld, just because there's like a buckle. But I'm getting a totally clear sight picture. And obviously with any sort of handguns, that is going to be not a problem at all. And you always have the option for any sort of helmet, goggles, most, you know, regular tactical and military style equipment will work really well with this. And like I said, the filters that you can get from them are considerably smaller than the standard. You know, this is just an old surplus filter that I use for these videos. It's long since been opened, and not the one I would grab if an actual incident happened. I would bust these open. Their filters all have a fantastic shelf life. The mask itself is rated at a 20-year shelf life. It's made of silicone, which is very flexible. It's not likely to crack or anything like that. Heat tolerant. It doesn't have the resistance to different type of chemical agents and things that the butyl rubber does. But like I said, that is not the purpose of this mask. You're not going out for a sarin nerve attack with this, which, how likely is that anyway? This is for mostly for particulate matter, for my purpose, for nuclear situations. They have the filters that you can get for tear gas. They have the viral ones, whatever. Depending on what it is, like I said, it would dictate whether you wanted the full face and eye coverage. But for nuclear particular, which is what this video is about, I think a respirator like this is a much better option for most people because of the price difference, the weight difference and size difference, the comfortability and ease of use. Like once this is set up, like this is a lot easier to get it on and off. It's a lot less restrictive. It's a lot less scary to have that on. You don't have the risk of fogging up. So if you're just sitting in your basement for 72 hours waiting out a nearby nuclear event, this is going to be a lot better of an option than a full mask, and you're going to save a lot of money in the process. And if you want to put it in a go bag, a car kit, it takes up a hell of a lot less space, significantly less weight. As always, links to that will be in the description. You know I've been touting Mirror stuff for a while. I do have their full CBR and gas mask. It's fantastic. The only limitation I noticed with that one is because I got the one with the full face mask. They do make a tactical version of that as well. So if you want to go full hog, full gas mask that can also be used tactically, they have the one that has more like eye holes, so it's not in the way, because I wanted one that gives me more freedom of movement to maybe drive, things that I think I would actually be more likely to do in a lot of shit hit the fan scenarios where I needed a gas mask more so than shooting. But if that were an option, or a concern, then I can throw this on as well. And like I said, the big selling points for this one for most of you guys is going to be the savings in money, size, weight, and the ease of use. And like I said, there are a lot of people who are significantly claustrophobic. This is going to make a big difference. It's way more robust than if you just got one of those like P100 style filters that you use for doing drywall work or painting or whatever. Those can work, but they don't give you the options for the different types of filters, obviously. They are not nearly as, they don't have a 20-year shelf life. You can't rely on those filters nearly as much as you could for a sealed actual filter like these. And they're still fairly expensive. You're still going to pay $30-50 for a good one when you factor in the filters and everything, and it's not going to be nearly as reliable, robust, and nearly as many options. Especially if you talk about the accessories that you can get with this if you want to go full on tactical mode. So definitely recommend this. I think this will be, I actually reached out to them when I saw this because I said, ooh, this is a much better option for what most preppers are looking for. We would all love to have a full set of, chemical gear for any possible scenario, but for the likely scenarios, specifically with what's going on in the world right now, I think a respirator like this is going to be the best option that covers most of your scenarios while limiting most of the downsides. So let me know what you guys think if you have something like that, and I will talk to you guys soon. Check out the link in the description.